So good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, February 10, 2022, and here we are in Love's Month, Heart Month as well. And we're going to be doing a lot of referral to Heart Month and heart disease prevention. And why not Valentine's? Some Valentine's that is coming up next week, I believe. And I'm very happy that all of you are here with us. I'm going to encourage you to use the chat box, the Q&A box. You know, it's that little icon at the bottom of your screen. Please ask all your questions, make lots of comments. We like to keep it very active. And today we're going to be talking about, or better said, instead of talking, we're going to be demonstrating cooking on the fly. A lot of us struggle cooking. Some of us don't even know how to boil an egg. Ask my daughter, she doesn't even know how to boil water, but my fault though. But, you know, today with us, we have Melissa Kinney, and she used to be one of our registered dietitians here at Montefiore Nyack, and now she's moved on to better things. And, but we have her back because she's phenomenal. And she's going to be teaching us today how to actually cook healthy meals that are quick, are delicious, and it's not that rocket science that we all fear when we are in the kitchen. So I'm gonna let Melissa introduce herself, and to all of you who are attending us, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us today. Melissa, so nice to see you, girl.
So nice to see you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and for those of you, you know, Melissa and I are also part of the Westchester Rockland Dietetic Association organization. We're very active there. So we see each other in a multitude of events, which is great to keep in touch. So Melissa, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm a registered dietitian, and I'm also a certified diabetes care and education specialist. As you said, I used to work at Montefiore Nyack, and I really miss you all there. But I'm working more outpatient now and really enjoying it. And I really like doing these types of presentations, really breaking down things and showing people how easy it is to make simple recipes, right? Sometimes we go in the kitchen and think it has to be something super complicated, or that nutrition has to be something that takes a lot of time. But as we'll talk about today, we can do some really easy recipes that really don't take that much time at all. And
yeah, I agree with you. I think that most of people are so fearful of cooking, you know, because it is complicated. You have to have a recipe. It's even hard to be reading a recipe. I don't like to cook with recipes, to be honest with you. I feel like either I'm reading or I'm cooking. I can't do both at the same time. But that's why this demo is great, because, you know, hopefully we lose our fear of the kitchen a little bit. So what are we preparing today? Well, are you preparing today?
So I'm making these black bean brownies. And I'm hoping that a lot of the ingredients you already have at home. So with baking, we do have to be a little bit more precise, but as we go through, I'll share some ideas for some ways that you can make even this recipe a little bit simpler and make it easier for yourself.
Now, let me ask you something. Black bean brownies. So is this going to be a vegan recipe?
So no, because it has eggs in it. It has eggs. But the positives about doing the black beans is the black beans are high in fiber, right? So we have that added fiber. And we are also using oats today too. So it has a little extra fiber. And when you try them, I did not taste the black beans in there at all. And actually, I had a couple of people sample them here, and no one could even tell that they had black beans in them. So they're a good way of getting in some fiber, getting in some protein, some healthy carbohydrates, but also you're having brownies.
Melissa, I'm sure that I'm going to get this question later. So before I get it, can you email me the recipes? That way I can email it to all the participants today, because I've tried your black bean burgers, listen to me, brownies, and I do know they're delicious. So I definitely want the recipe.
Yeah. And I want to give credit. So I got this recipe from Food Heaven. They're a dietitian. They're two dietitians. They have a food blog. So if you're interested, you can check out some of their other recipes as well. But that's where I got it from.
And what's the website? Is it foodheaven.com? I just want to write it in the chat.
search Food Heaven Made Easy, then
Food Heaven Made Easy? Okay.
come up. I'm not sure what their website is, but they're a lot of times I'll use a recipe and kind of tweak it, but like I was saying before, with a bit more precise.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah. So should we get started? All right. So I'm starting with beans, black beans, and you can use, to make it easier for yourself, you don't have to use the dried beans. Use canned beans. Rinsing them in any time that you're going to use beans gets rid of a lot of the sodium. So we're starting with our beans. Oh, you know what? I'm going to use my oats. So I'm using these rolled oats. I just use regular rolled oats, and I'm going to make it into oat flour. So we're going to put that in the food processor and just pulse it a little bit, so that way we make it into a flour.
Melissa, if I didn't have a food processor, what do I do?
You can use a blender. You can use a blender. I think it would work out just as well. But if you need a kitchen gadget, I really think that the food processor is the way to go, because really you can get a lot of use out of it.
I agree. Okay.
We have the oats. The next thing is black beans, a cup of black beans. That goes into the food processor. All right, next, we're going to use unsweetened cocoa powder. All right, that's half a cup. I'll send you the recipe though, that way everyone has it. So half a cup of the unsweetened cocoa powder. I'm going to do a third of a cup of maple syrup. All right, so just regular maple syrup, like you want to use the real maple syrup, not just pancake syrup.
Is maple syrup better than sugar?
You know, I would say that all sugar is sugar. Use the type that you like, but you can use a honey if you wanted to as well. And really, if you want, you can cut down a little bit on the sugar. I think in terms of if you're watching the sugars in your diet, if you have something like diabetes, I think this is a pretty diabetes friendly recipe because of the added fiber in it, about what you're eating the rest of the day as well. So we have the maple syrup, and then my measuring cups, a teaspoon of baking soda, and then a half a teaspoon of salt. All right, so that's for the food processor. And just gonna pulse it. All right, just until it blends all together. It comes together really quickly. So then you take that and put it into a bowl. Oh, and you know what I wanted to mention, like we were talking about before, I think people are scared to just get into the kitchen, but sometimes take a little trial and error. Things aren't going to always come out perfect. So, I mean, I think there's like a fun part to it too, is just experimenting and trying something. And then if you have to try it a different way, then that's okay. Or you might make a mistake that winds up tasting really delicious. So there's that part too.
Great. And it looks like it's thick right now, right?
Yes, yes. So then we're going to add more liquids to it. So.
And Melissa, we have a couple of questions here already. It says, okay, what do you do if you don't have a blender or a food processor? I'm thinking, can you use one of those food mixers? You know, the handheld?
You can use a hand mixer. I think that would be fine. Yeah. And I would say you might need to buy oat flour already. It might taste good. The brownies might taste good if you just use the oats as they are, or you can buy the oat flour already ground. Yeah,
I guess if you just use the whole oats, it's just gonna look more like a cereal bar, right?
Yeah, you know, I was thinking
Chunky.
my first batch this morning at 7 a.m. that you can make it into more of like a breakfast bar too if you wanted. In that case, you could use the whole rolled oats.
Right, exactly. And here is another question. Can you use a stevia in place of the maple syrup?
I'd say you could try. I'm not sure exactly what the ratio would be, but you could try it. Yeah. Yeah, I think
Stevia is liquidy, right? Just maple, because I'm thinking about because really the maple syrup is the only thing that is helping to blend everything together.
Well, now we're going to add the eggs, and then also there's coconut oil, so that's going to add it. So you could try it and just try. You could that's a good time where you can experiment and see what's going to work for you.
And Cassandra is asking, what are we making again?
Making black bean brownies.
Black bean brownies. It's a mouthful, at least for me. Black bean browners.
And then, so I melted it. You can use a double boiler. So many tongue twisters today. You can use a double boiler if you want to melt the chocolate, but I used a cup of the semi-sweet chocolate chips and a third of a cup of coconut oil, and I just melted it in the microwave, and I'm just going to put that all in. So you can use double boiler, like boil the water and put a bowl on top and let it all melt, or you can just microwave it. I did microwave it slowly. Like I put it on for a minute and then I mixed it because there is potential for it to burn, but probably unlikely. So you mix, so I put in 2 eggs that I whisked, and I put in the chocolate. It's a cup of the semi-sweet chips and a third of a cup of coconut oil. And then the last is just chopped walnuts. And to make it easier for yourself, get the chopped walnuts, the walnuts that are already chopped. So that's one way that you can make this recipe a little bit easier. So, and I'm just going to mix it all up.
So this is not going to have only a lot of fiber, but it's going to have a lot of protein because it has the eggs in there, it has the nuts, right?
Yeah, it has healthy fats in it because the nuts.
Beans have protein.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if this is healthy and I can eat it every day for breakfast, it's like I'm eating beans for breakfast. Who said it's chocolate something?
Yeah, and you know what would taste great? I mean, you could put ice cream on the side if you wanted, or you could do a Greek yogurt. I think a vanilla Greek yogurt would make it a more complete breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Just gonna mix that all together. And then another tip that I use for a lot of recipes, even if I'm just cooking, using parchment paper or aluminum foil just makes cleanup so much faster. So I'm going to use parchment paper and just spread this into a pan. I'm using an 8x8 dish. That seems to be good. And you know what I also wanted to share? So sometimes, depending, I was worried I was going to run out of room, that I had too much brownie mix, but sometimes when I'm making a dessert to bring somewhere, I'll just make it in this glass Pyrex, and then it has the lid already. It makes it so much easier. That way you don't have to worry about taking it out and putting it on another plate. Like that's a really easy way to bring a dessert, or even something that you're preparing for somewhere else. This is a really easy way to transport it.
Or have you tried doing it in the aluminum containers, the round ones, or? Yeah, those are easy too, because I'm always forgetting on my Pyrex everywhere. So now I just moved to that. Like I don't care about those that much.
yeah, you're right. You're right about that. So yeah, and then I'm just going to use a spatula and just even it out in the pan. I think there was a question or comment, but I missed.
Yes, Melissa, there was. So there is 2 actually. One is with the recipe, will there be a nutritional breakdown?
Oh, I don't have that.
I'll do it. I'll add it to the recipes. You send them to me and I'll add it. I'll add that. Yes, yeah. We'll do it. And what other types of beans will work for this recipe?
I really think you can use most types of beans. I think even a cannellini bean, even chickpeas. Chickpeas work well with baking. And what I make a lot of times is like a chickpea dessert hummus, and that it's pretty much the same idea that you're adding some beans to a dessert, to something chocolate. So, what do you think chickpeas? My other.
You're cutting off.
Oh, okay. I said I think cannellini beans or chickpeas. But what else do you think?
I don't know. Wouldn't that change the flavor? I don't know. And it changes the color. Well, maybe not. Maybe made it a little lighter.
Oh, yes. Michelle. Oh, hi, Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle's pinto work, they say. Pinto. I will incline myself for more reddish, blackish, than lighter. Just because of color. I don't know.
Yeah. Because it's chocolatey, though, I think it would be okay. I think it would be okay. So then I already have the oven preheated for 325, and that it goes in for about 30 minutes. All right. And then,
Melissa, is that a convection oven?
Maybe.
Because I feel that when it's convection, it's like 325, but then it's the regular one is 350.
Yeah, it seems worked well on 325.
Okay. And for
then,
how long are you going to be cooking it?
For about 30 minutes. It took about 30 minutes. I had put it earlier, and then I needed an extra 10 minutes. So, and then this is how they come out when they're done. So they came out really good. They got the approval. I had a few people taste test them this morning, so they really taste awesome. Yeah,
You're
and
going
that's
to send it to us? Yeah, I'm gonna have to come home and make them.
But they're really simple to make. A lot of the ingredients you probably already have. Thank you. A lot of the ingredients you probably already have at home. And we were talking about earlier, I really think you can make this into something like a breakfast bar as well. You can add some yogurt to it to make it of a more complete meal or snack. Oh, hi, Claudette. So it's like awesome.
And Claudette is right. It says it looks moist. That's nice.
Yeah, they really came out very good. The texture was great. They and really, honestly, I don't even think that, I think Michelle said something like that. She doesn't even tell people that there's beans in them. And I really don't think many people would guess that there are.
And Michelle is also saying, Melissa, with the addition of the egg, they look like a snack cake. Without egg, they look a little flat. Look at that.
Yeah. They definitely got they puffed up a little bit, like the brownies puffed up a little bit.
Virginia is asking, could you use egg whites?
I'm not sure. With baking, I think sometimes we have to kind of leave some things as is.
Yeah, because you need the adhesive property of the egg. I don't think you're gonna get that with the egg whites. I mean, you can always try, as Melissa said in the beginning, you can try. Sometimes it's a matter of trial and error and see what works and what doesn't work, right?
Yeah. And then, maybe you don't want to mess up completely, but it can always be a fun experiment too, to see how it comes out. You can always
make a little batch.
Yeah. You can try using a different type of nut if you want. You can use almonds, or you can use, yes, agreed, Michelle, just experiment the day before.
or a few days before. It has happened to me that I have to run the soup to the supermarket the day of because I already exhausted all my ingredients. So that's what I'm saying, a few days before.
I've done it too. I think we've all been there, but that's sort of the fun too.
Yeah. So here is a question, Melissa.
Sure.
Do you want to share some tips with us? Most of us nowadays, we're working moms. We come home, we're tired. we don't want to spend hours in the kitchen. Besides, you know, at least I'm going to talk about me. Like I come home and I'm ravenous. Like I want to have something to eat right now. So I don't want to have to wait 2 hours for a meal, obviously. So can you share some tips on how can I come home and prepare faster meals or meals faster?
I wrote down some ideas that we can talk about a little bit. So I would say my first tip is really to plan ahead. So a bit of planning can really make such a difference. Planning out, usually the weekends are a little bit quieter for people. So just taking that time to plan out what you want for the week. It doesn't even have to be every single meal, just even maybe 2 or 3 times a week, having a plan ahead of time for what you're going to make. So that would be my first tip. My second is items that you've already prepped. So when you go to the supermarket, take the time to prep them when you have a minute. Or if you have the funds to do so, you can always get some items that are already prepared for you. Like I can think like those zucchini noodles that you get sometimes in the supermarket. Sometimes it's worth it to get them already prepped. Are you going to prep that zucchini yourself, or is it helpful to you to have it get those prepped already for you? So fruits and vegetables. Use fruits and vegetables. So fruits and vegetables are a lot of time cheaper. They last longer, right? You don't have to worry about them going bad in the fridge. And sometimes they can even have more nutrition than the fresh, right? Because they're flash frozen at their peak ripeness, right? So frozen vegetables are definitely a go-to for me. Also using items like rotisserie chicken or tuna or those canned beans that we use today, really simple proteins that don't take time to prepare at all. What else? Getting single serve packs. So again, you know, it might be cheaper to get a big container of yogurt, but if you're going to buy the big container of yogurt and then it's just going to sit in the fridge, maybe it's easier to get those single serves. And then finally, one of my favorite things is using frozen rice or grain blends that the rice comes frozen in a little package and then you throw it right into the microwave. And in a few minutes, you have your starch or carbohydrate.
Mm-hmm. Can you make your own rice and freeze it?
Yeah, that's definitely an option. You can do that as well, or any grain, really, if you wanted to do quinoa or farro, any of those. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that way you just cook a big batch and eat a little bit and freeze the rest for the rest of the week. That's good. I'd like to do that.
Yeah, or even if you wanted to make something like a chili, that freezes really well, and then you have your meal. Sometimes people, I hear a lot of times, I don't want to eat the same thing all week long. Understood. Sometimes I don't want to either. So you can cook a big batch, put half in the freezer, and then you have it for the following week.
Mm-hmm. I just feel that sometimes food, after it's frozen, it loses part of the taste. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think sometimes depending on what you make, but it might be worth it, or just to add some extra flavor after you defrost it. Mm-hmm. So you still have something that's flavorful. I mean, that's really important too, that you're enjoying what you eat.
And Melissa, how do we make sure that the meals that we are eating or cooking first are healthy? Like what makes a meal healthy?
Yeah, so I have a little picture. I'm hoping you can see it. Otherwise,
I can. Yeah, we can. Actually, let me make you bigger.
Yeah, but we call this the plate method, right? So it's an easy way that you can set up your plate to make sure that it's nutritionally balanced and also make sure that you're satisfied with your meal. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be every single meal looks like this. But in general, with the meal, if we're including a carbohydrate, a protein, some fat, and then some sort of fiber, that's what really helps create a balanced meal. So our fiber can come from fruit, it can come from the starch or carbohydrate, or it can come from our vegetables. So that's usually what I go over. And again, like, I don't think it has to be perfect, it doesn't have to be every single meal, but in general, when we're building meals, thinking of that, a carbohydrate, protein, fat, and some fiber.
If we go back to your brownies, is that balanced? I feel like we have a few ingredients in there that could meet that requirement.
Yeah, I mean, I really think it's pretty balanced. I think maybe in terms of portion size, we might need something depending on what you're eating it at, right? Like if you're having it for breakfast, really easy way to make it a more filling breakfast would be to add some yogurt with it. But yeah, you're like we were talking about before. I mean, it really has carbohydrates, it has fat, and it has protein, and pretty high quality fat and protein, and carbohydrates as well with the beans.
Mm-hmm. So mix it with a glass of milk and you're good to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, just a glass of milk. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, it even has fiber. So it really has everything: carbohydrates, protein, fat, and fiber.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I feel like it will do it.
That's a meal right
there are a lot of people though that they're not very they're not good friends with vegetables. So what can we do when we don't like vegetables that much?
Yeah, well, the first thing usually the first question I ask is, well, when was the last time you tried it? Because as we get older, our taste buds change, really. We lose taste buds. So maybe something that you haven't had in 20 years, you might like now. So that's the first thing. And then also just cooking it and preparing it in a way that's interesting and flavorful. I think roasting is a really easy option. Just throwing everything onto a sheet pan, using your parchment paper or aluminum foil. So making it really easy for yourself. But that's an easy way to get some vegetables. You can try all different ones and flavor it how you want, really keeping it simple too. A lot of times, just using some onion powder or garlic powder, things that you probably already have at home to flavor it, some olive oil, keeping it simple, but also adding flavor. Sometimes maybe a steamed vegetable isn't really interesting, but if you could add some sort of flavor to it, that's what really makes it fun.
Mm-hmm. And I was just going to ask you something. Yes. There are people that talk to me and they say, well, I don't really like a lot of vegetables unless they put butter or cheese on the vegetables. Is that healthy?
I mean, I would argue, right? We have to have some sort of compromise, right? Like, I truly believe all foods fit, and find a way to enjoy those vegetables. If you want to add some butter, I really think it's okay. Of course, there's more heart healthy fat choices, right? Like adding in some type of olive oil. I think olive oil is probably the best way to go, or maybe something like avocado oil, something like that would be a little more heart healthy. But if you want to use butter once in a while, I think that's totally fine.
Mm-hmm. And what about the cheese?
Same thing. I truly believe all foods fit. And if you're able to find a way to make it flavorful, especially something like a Parmesan that you can use a little bit, it really goes a long way. It might be worth it to add that cheese.
Mm-hmm. And Lynette is sharing with us great suggestions regarding vegetables. Consider when was the last time you tried them. I just started liking asparagus and Brussels sprouts within the last couple of years. And I agree. It's like, for example, I never liked eggplant. And then one day I just had it in pizza and I didn't even knew it was eggplant in the pizza. And I was like, what? This tastes delicious. So it's true. It's like your taste buds definitely change for some reason.
Yeah. And I mean, even like, I always think of Brussels sprouts. I don't know who did the marketing for Brussels sprouts, but they did a really good job, right? Because they made Brussels sprouts cool. And, maybe that's something as kids, we thought of Brussels sprouts, I don't know, maybe boiled or something like that, but they didn't have a lot of flavor and they didn't really look that appetizing. But now roasting them on a pan and adding, whatever spices that you like can really make it something delicious.
What about meats? Let's talk about meats a little bit. What would be the preferred type of meats and how to prepare them?
Yeah, so in terms of heart health, chicken, turkey, fish would be the more heart healthy, or like a lean beef, something like that. But again, like I think all foods really fit. So choosing those types of meats more often. And then I would say, just to add on to that, adding more plant-based proteins is always an option as well. So your beans, nuts and seeds, nut butters, even tofu or tempeh, those are all heart healthy proteins as well. And really, they're easy to prepare too. So when you're thinking of something quick to make at night, those would be an option that sometimes are more like easier, can be prepared more quickly than your proteins, than your like more meat proteins.
Mm-hmm. Now, there is also a lot of controversy around the time that you should eat your fruit. You know, many people say like, oh no, you shouldn't eat after 5, you shouldn't eat it early in the morning. Is there really a preferred time when we should be eating fruits?
So I think a lot of times it comes down to more of what else you're eating with that fruit. Usually a piece of fruit compared to something like a juice, that piece of fruit is more satisfying because you're taking the time to chew, it's sending the message to your brain that you're full, and it has fiber in it, right? A lot of times with juice, we lose that fiber. So first of all, the type of fruit, I think, can make a difference, but then also what you're combining it with. So the same thing with the plate, like we were talking about, starting with your carbohydrate food and adding a protein or fat, we can apply that same idea to a snack with a piece of fruit. So adding some protein or fat, like I think of, I don't know, maybe some string cheese or a nut butter or a handful of almonds, or even maybe a Greek yogurt, something like that can help keep your blood sugars more stable or help keep you satisfied with that piece of fruit until you get to your next meal snack.
Mm-hmm. And here is an interesting comment. It says, in the region I live now, some people eat proteins like deer and possum. Are those healthy options? And UV says, I don't plan on eating them though. I don't blame you. I wouldn't either, especially possum.
I really don't know the answer to that question. Do you know about deer? I think deer is lean, right?
Deer is lean. Deer is lean for what I know. It's like a lean meat. Possum, I mean, if they taste the way they look, not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But thanks for the comment. That was nice.
Oh, thank you for the question. That was a good one. I'll have to look possum up. I don't know that.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to encourage our participants to ask more questions because, you know, this is a great topic. Lynette says to engage children who tend to dislike fruits and or vegetables, present them as something fun, like broccoli can be presented as little trees, blueberries are for super kids because they're superfood, etc.
Yeah. And I really, really love that idea. The other part is if you include kids in either choosing what type of fruit or vegetable that they want to eat, or even depending on how old they are and what the prep is, helping prepare the meal or snack, that can increase the kids' chance of trying the food too. So, so that's
absolutely. I mean, a little bit of how you call it, history here. But when I was working in the South Bronx, we had a cooking program for children, and we had all types of ingredients there, all types of vegetables. And at the beginning, they were like, "Oh, I don't like that." And as they started preparing them, you know, they got like more open-minded and they wanted to try them. And then at the end, when the recipe was ready, they were like, wow, it tastes good, I like it. And they wanted to bring some home to their parents as well, because they were like, I've never had this at home, I want them to try. So definitely involving children, you know, in the whole process, from like shopping all the way to cooking and trying, it's really good.
yeah.
Yes, and Virginia says, I love acai bowls with blueberries and strawberries. Are these high in calories?
Ooh, like a smoothie bowl. Yeah. I mean, that really depends. It depends on. So acai is like someone's asking what that is. That's that it's a type of berry, and it's often marketed kind of like a superfood because it has a lot of antioxidants. They've become really popular. I'd say maybe the past 5 or 8 years, something like that. They become really popular to make into a smoothie bowl. I think in terms of nutrition, it really depends on where you're getting it, what you're putting in it. That depends.
Yeah, some can be very fruit-based, which are really good, but some of them get like syrup and chocolate syrup and ice cream, and I don't know, some of them are pretty dense.
Sometimes,
I will say calorie dense. It's the right term.
but that can also be a great way. I mean, if you're having difficulty getting in greens, like sometimes they'll do more spinach or carrots. So if you're having difficulty getting in vegetables, that's another really easy way. That's something that even you can use frozen spinach, or I'm thinking the bag spinach, you can throw your own spinach, maybe not the one that comes kind of in the block, but if you throw your own bag of spinach in the freezer, that's something you can throw together really fast, and that could be a quick meal or snack too.
Mm-hmm. You know, just to share now as we're talking, I'm thinking that one of my favorite tools for the kitchen now is the air fryer.
Yes. Yeah, it's awesome.
Michelle says, I say to all ages, try it if you don't have to like it. That's true. I say that same thing. That takes a bit of pressure off. We did that at Dominican College, and some of the students tried quinoa salad, some tried kale with chickpeas, hummus, and beets. Something new for 2022. True. And Instapot is her favorite. Oh, I love too. I use it almost every day. I have to tell you, the Instapot, I cook almost everything there because it's so quick.
Yeah, that's gonna be my next. So I have to say the air fryer is awesome. It really is.
Because it makes everything crunchy, except sweet plantains. For those of you Latinos over there, I tried the sweet plantains. Nah. They have to be deep in fat, like forget about it. They have to be like moistured. I don't know. It didn't come out right. So I'll keep my sweet plantains in a pan.
Yeah. I think certain things, it's okay to, especially something cultural like that, it's okay.
Listen, you can make lentil soup in 15 minutes in an Instapot, correct? And beans in half an hour, like with lots of rice and beans. Yeah, air fryer. Try the air fryer that is made for the Instapot. I didn't even know about that. It sits on top of the Instapot. Huh. We need to look into that.
Yeah.
You see why I like the chat? Because then we get informed as well. Okay.
And tips from other people. So
exactly. Now, we started talking about smoothies a little bit and drinks. I feel that you can also make a smoothie as a meal, but how do you do that, Melissa?
Yeah, I get questions about this a lot, and usually the first thing I ask is, do smoothies really keep you satisfied? Because I think that's something to think about, and that's very individualized. So some people really enjoy smoothies and find that it satisfies them to the next meal. Sometimes people don't really find them satisfying. So I would start with that. Like, is a smoothie something that's going to be satisfying for you? And maybe that's something that you experiment and find out if that's going to work for you. But really, you can incorporate that same idea, like always going back to that plate, you can incorporate that same idea into something like a smoothie. So including a carbohydrate, whether it's your fruit, or you can use yogurt or milk, protein, same thing. I mean, they all kind of blend together, right? So if you're using a Greek yogurt or milk, that could be your protein source. Or if you wanted to add a protein powder or something like that. And then you can add fruits or vegetables. That would make it a more of a complete meal. Anything else you add to your smoothies? What do you think?
No, I peanut butter, people like to add peanut butter for protein, and some people, I love yogurt. That's my favorite. That's my to-go.
Yeah, how can I forget peanut butter? Peanut butter is my everything.
No, I feel that the same concept applies to soups. Like, you need to make your soups mostly vegetables, because some people like put potatoes, rice, pasta, everything is thick and carby. And you need to put a lot of vegetables in your soups as well, make them a little bit healthier, heart healthier.
Yeah, and really, if you're adding a variety of colors too, then you're getting a variety of nutrients. And I think that's a good point too, because sometimes when I show that plate I tell people, I usually make the joke, like, it doesn't have to look like a school lunch, because I think it does look kind of like a school lunch. But soup is a great example of how you can incorporate that idea of using those same elements on the plate, but it's in a bowl form, but still the same elements.
Yes, and we're getting a good question. You mentioned yogurt, and I'm sorry, don't be sorry. This is great. It's a great question. What does it mean when we say that yogurt is good for gut health?
Oh, that's a good question. So yogurt is an example of a probiotic. So probiotics have that yogurt has bacteria in it that can help feed the good bacteria in our gut. And we're learning so much now about gut health and how important that is to really everything. I mean, to so many different aspects of our health, whether it's that we know now that there's an interaction between our minds and our intestines, digestion, immunity, all of those sort of things. So yogurt has good bacteria in it, which can help feed our gut. The other cool thing that I like talking about is prebiotics. So prebiotics are really the foods that help feed those good bacteria. And prebiotics can be things like fruits, vegetables, whole grains. And those are foods that help feed the bacteria in our gut.
So that we have more good bacteria and less bad. And you know, now it's a lot of studies that talk about that and how changing your bacteria can even help you lose weight, right? Like if you have more of the good bacteria and less of the bad bacteria, you know, that might be part of the reason why you gain weight to start with.
Yeah, or even I think the research on, you know, I see now so many people, I always turn on this stove when I'm sitting here. You know, I think I've been seeing so many people that want to take vitamins for COVID. I think I've been seeing it very often. People want to take vitamins, but adding something like fruits and vegetables, that gives bacteria, or even yogurts, or what else, sauerkraut or kombucha, all of those sort of things that give us to help feed our good bacteria, and that can help with immunity. So I would say that could be even more beneficial than just taking a vitamin.
Not just taking something that is absolutely processed, even man-made, and all of that, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like we know that food-based nutrients, we absorb them so much better, and they offer just a variety of ways to help us instead of just maybe one function, like taking.
And Melissa, let's talk about drinks very quickly. We don't have too much time left, but I mean, honestly, who has time to be making drinks from scratch? So what's out there that we can quickly drink that will give us less calories, less sugar?
Yeah, I recommend seltzers all the time. I think that's a great way of getting, I'm looking at my seltzer over here, but I think that's a great way of adding flavor. Sometimes people find regular water really boring, but really something that could be so quick, like flavoring your water with, my go-to is frozen berries. Frozen berries, you can throw that into water and it really helps flavor them. Even a tea, something like that, that's really quick. You just boil some water and you can even make a huge container and have that for the whole day.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen people who slice cucumbers, mint leaves, you know, and they call it infused waters, right?
Yeah, I was thinking, I love doing that. You know, like if you have a couple extra minutes, I think that's a really great way. Oh, I gotta take these out of the oven. You know what?
Yeah, I smell them. I wish. Yeah, so the infused waters actually work really well. The only thing is that you have to make them at least the night before so that the water really gets the infusion, because otherwise it's just gonna taste like water.
Yeah, I really think the frozen berries though, if you throw them in, they really flavor up the water. Here's the brownies. Mm-hmm. They flavor up the water really quickly.
Well, I'm happy for your co-workers. Not so happy for us. Wait, you're cutting off. Can you repeat that?
I wish I could send them through my phone to you.
Yeah, that would be nice to all of us. It's only 19 of us here watching, so I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, I'll split it up into 19 pieces.
Okay. Okay, well, it's always such a great pleasure talking to you. I mean, this has been great. Thank you for all your tips. Thank you for cooking for us, even though we don't get to taste the food, but I'm sure that a lot of us are going to be making this weekend. That idea of the Super Bowl, that's great. We can make it into little bolitas, like little balls too. Could we? I don't know. You know,
I love that.
yeah, maybe. So thank you so much. And I'm sure that we're going to keep seeing each other. I'm sure that, you know, people like to talk about nutrition. So I hope you're back soon. And to all of our participants, thank you so much for your participation, for spending some time with us. You're going to be receiving an email with the link. And let me tell you what we're going to be talking about next week. Oh my God, I didn't even think of that, but we have so much this month going on. You know, it's a lot of things going on this month with heart health and Valentine's and all of that. So next month, we're going to be talking about, talking heart to heart. So we're going to have Dr. Dwayne Bryan talking about like heart disease, how to keep your heart healthy, what to do to, you know, power up your heart and all of that. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. So don't eat too many brownies from here until then, because no, I'm just kidding. These are healthy brownies, so that's a good thing. Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you to all of our attendees, and see you next Thursday.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.